All right, all you hardcore wrestling fans, Aaron Royal back here once again on UPN 44 to give you IPW Hardcore Wrestling's weekly recap. We're going to have lots of great action, including highlights from the steel cage match from the NWA Anniversary Show. We've got tag team action to start, so let's go right to the matches. Fans, tag team action. You have the team of the San Francisco Treats, Phil Latio and Hot and Sexy Sean Hill over there conversing with the Mullet Richie Rich, and they're facing a team that this is their debut actually wrestling here in IPW. You've seen them coming to the ring with Frankie Capone on a number of occasions. It's Python and Michael Todd, and these guys are big, big individuals, Ron Nemi.
Python and Michael Todd just returned from an international tour of England where they went with Frankie Capone and he made a huge splash over there. Python actually not known for his hardcore style, but engaged in an unbelievable feud with the Dominator in a series of table matches over there. It's not like he was feuding with Big Daddy Shirley Crabtree or any of the other slouches in England. He was wrestling with the best of the best, and believe it or not, Frankie Capone took Nova right to the limit over in England. These guys are making a big name for themselves.
That's true. These two, as well as Justice, made a name for themselves over in the other continent. And here you see a big attempt at a chop there by Python, but he misses, and Sean Hill taking him some fists and doing some unnecessary acrobatics there. Let's see what he can do here. Nice Hurricane Rana taking the big man down. You see, these are not the first two goons we've seen Frankie Capone bring in, but most of the other goons have already way gone, not here in IPW anymore. But these two guys have the size and the skill to last here quite a while in IPW, I think.
Book for life, Frankie Capone, for some reason, always likes to surround himself with a bunch of lackeys. I don't know if it's a lack of self-esteem. I don't know if he's got some kind of problem with his ego. He walks around with some big giant hat like it's a joke, but he surrounds himself with some of the biggest, the most violent, and the most brutal wrestlers that I've seen in a while. And I have a feeling Michael Todd and Python are going to make a name for themselves right here in IPW.
It looks that way, though right now, Python getting the face full there from Phil Latio. And what's he doing?
He's on the receiving end of the pelvic.
We've seen this before, and there he's got one of his big gimmicks. Like I said, they won't let me say the name outright, but it starts with Dill and ends with Doe, and he's whacking him right in the head with that massive thing. And Ron Nemi, he told me after the show that gimmick actually cost him more than his payday.
Not surprised here in IPW, not known for their big paydays, but the Richie Rich, the Mullet, sitting back, strangely aroused.
Liking this. But now he's not. Dropped right on his back by the monster Python.
Beautiful sit-out powerbomb from the top rope. Python taking matters into his own hands. He's sick of getting whacked in the forehead with that, I don't know, what is it, 24-inch gimmick? And Richie Rich ever so gently picks it up. He looks like he likes it as he sets it in the corner. He looked to be salivating a little bit, and here he is. He's not Star Stevens. He's not the type of guy that misses the false tag. But you see Michael Todd laying in the choke on Phil Latio. Come on, Mullet, back on your game, brother.
There you go, Mullet. He's no mud baby. And there you see two interesting things on the outside of the ring. First of all, you got Frankie Capone wearing the Rudy hat from Fat Albert. And then you've got a rival promoter on the outside of the ring taking pictures, just trying to be like IPW. Everybody all over the state and indeed all over the country wants to know more about IPW. They want to take credit for stuff going on IPW, but nobody else has our talent. Nobody else has what we have going on at our TV show. IPW is Florida wrestling.
That's because these other promotions are like summer's vacation. They got no class.
It's another Fat Albert reference there by the Hardcore Giant. And I think you had another thing that you wanted to promote, some sort of dessert treat?
Mr. Freezer Pops, as fun as they are to freeze, as they are to eat.
And as long as we're on the subject, Ron, let's get some of this out of the way. What's the best insurance in Tampa Bay?
Well, obviously, best insurance.
That would make sense. Let me tell you, fans, here in IPW, we're known not only for our great wrestling, but we're known for our partying. Whether or not that's a rumor or not, you'll have to come by and judge for yourself. And you can check us out after all the shows at Extra Innings. Last time we were there, they were very cordial to us. They kept it open late so we could watch the IPW TV show right after the bar closed. They couldn't have treated us better, and I'm looking forward to going back there after every show, Ron.
I would like to file a complaint with the management of Extra Innings because as I was trying to order another frosty beverage, the waitress came over and she fondled me ever so gently, and I became aroused at one moment, but then I realized how greatly offended I was. And you see Python catching Phil Latio, and he's about to destroy him with a crushing slam.
Actually, Ron, you were a little drunk. That was the bouncer that was fondling on you, but we can go over those details later.
Nevertheless,
here you see sitting on the top turnbuckle, wasting a little bit of time. They had shown that they were serious here up until this point. I guess he's maybe just waiting for Phil to get up. and that was a mistake. It still caught him with a low blow there, right in the groin.
Now, if you look at IPW-hardcore.com, you can find out the profiles, anything you need to know about any of the wrestlers that are in the ring today. There's more information on that site than you could possibly hope to read in a 6-hour time span.
That's a long time.
6 hours.
And Ron Nemi, while we're at these shameless plugs here, the producers make me, so let me tell you about, you can hear Shannon Rose each and every week, Wednesday nights on 10:40 a.m. from 7 to 8 p.m. on Pro Wrestling Weekly. And though I hate to admit it, he has some pretty good guests. It is a good show, so everybody check it out. Oh, there you see Phil Missing hitting his own partner Sean Hill in the head with the gimmick. That's not going to make Sean Hill very happy. There you see he's wasting time yelling at his partner that he could be recovering. Oh, and there you see the big choke slam sit-out powerbomb by the huge Python. This could be it.
Python 1, 2, 3.
And that is it.
Michael Todd and Python vaulting themselves up the tag team contendership. Their eyes on the IPW Tag Team Gold. As a matter of fact, the unified Florida Tag Team Championship. IPW Hardcore and NWA Florida Tag Team belts held by the Shane Brothers, managed by Ron Nemi.
Actually, that would be the NWA Florida Tag Team certificates, but we know what you're talking about. And Ron, I'm sure the Shane Brothers, after watching this match, they already have their hands full with Quickie Mart, but I'm sure they want no part of this team managed by Frankie Capone.
We're in absolutely no hurry to get in the ring with Michael Todd and Python.
All right, Ron, sorry to interrupt you, but right here, you see Sean Hill. He's getting a little angry with Phil Latio, always blaming Phil for their losses. And look at this, a punch right to the jaw by Sean Hill.
And just stone Lonnie Garvin style. Nails him right in the jaw. And the last part of the body that Phil ever needs worked over. The most important part of his gimmick, his jaw. He doesn't need locked jaw. He doesn't need that type of abuse. And Richie Rich the Mullet takes a shove for his troubles.
That's true. Phil Latio definitely needs a jaw to be effective. And here comes Don Juan DeSanto, Ron. This guy's a former Northeastern Independent superstar, part of the tag team Mind and Matter. He's coming in here now. We're not sure if it was to save Phil Latio or to help Sean Hill, but we see right now he's had a problem with both of these individuals, but he's helping Sean Hill right now. Looks like he maybe just came in and said, well, there's already one guy down. Why don't I just team with Sean Hill? And they're taking out the very popular Phil Latio.
I'm starting to worry about the roster of IPW Hardcore Wrestling. What kind of man doesn't like Phil Latio? What kind of individual comes in there and abuses Phil Latio? It makes me sick to my stomach that Sean Hill and Don Juan DeSanto don't understand what is good for a man, what is good for a person, and Phil Latio is good for mankind.
I tell you, I don't know who doesn't like it either, but Don Juan DeSanto apparently doesn't like Phil Latio. He told me he doesn't have time to think about such things because he's too busy paying off Rick Fuller for his ring attire.
Rick Fuller. Now, where would you drop Rick Fuller's name? Why don't you drop somebody with more name value, like, say, SD Special Delivery Jones, hailing from Antigua in the West Indies?
SD Jones, he was very popular until he lost to King Kong Bundy in 9 seconds at WrestleMania 1. And speaking of huge individuals like King Kong Bundy, right now we have Snow in the ring. Everybody knows the hatred between Snow and Phil Latio. What's going on there? Oh, well, Don Juan DeSanto might have just made a mistake swinging at Snowman, or Snow, rather, as he just takes out Sean Hill and Don Juan DeSanto. And this is crazy, Ron. These two guys are bitter enemies, but it looks to me like Snow just came to the aid of Phil Latio.
Snow has had his nose broken on 2 different occasions.
What in the...
Please, for the love of God.
I know he's trying to be like Eric Hartman from South Park, Colorado, but, Ron, that's a bondage outfit, Ron.
I believe I'm going to be sick. Those are pasties up to the largest...
Ron, just stop. Fans, we'll be right back. Oh, my God.
Once again, fans, I'm IPW Commissioner Honest Eddie Edwards, and this is the IPW Event Center. IPW returns to the Florida WrestlePlex Saturday night, November the 3rd for Traditionally Violent. Log on to IPW-hardcore.com or contact the WrestlePlex for the very latest in ticket information. Already signed, a hardcore war between Chaos and the insane Von Tankard. Mike Sullivan will battle Billy Fies in an independent super clash, and former ECW World Tag Team Champion and IPW competitor Tony Mamaluke makes his return to IPW as a member of NWA Wildside, but he will have his hands full when he battles IPW's Madman Jet Jaguar. Also on the card, Ron Nemi has signed on the dotted line to face Acropolis in a ladder on a Halliburton match. Then Thanksgiving weekend, IPW returns to the WrestlePlex for a mammoth show, and this just announced, IPW invades the Outpost right across the street from the Ice Palace in December. More info on these shows as it becomes available, and for all the latest news and notes, be sure to visit IPW-hardcore.com.
Okay, fans, we're back, and as you see, I know you were probably a little bit disturbed by what went on during the last match with Snow, but he's back again in that same garb, and this time he has Phil Latio at ringside with him. I never thought I'd see that here in IPW, but he's going into this four-way contest. It's Snow, Devin Nash, the Stormtrooper David Black, and the television champion Pat McGroin. They're going at this in a four-man contest. This is not a tag match. Two men start out in the ring, and at any point they can tag any of the other individuals, and they must then come in the ring and wrestle. There you see Pat McGroin flexing his ever-large mammary glands there to the delight of the crowd in his new tights.
Pat McGroin's actually in incredible shape. He has really whipped himself into shape since garnering the IPW TV title. And you see referee Andy from NWA Wildside, who we're going to talk about a lot more later on.
That's true, Ron. I know you have a lot to say about Wildside, but we're going to save that for the last segment of the show. And fans, let me just reiterate, this is not an elimination match. It's one fall to a finish, which if Pat McGroin goes and tags Devin, Devin's wrestling Snow. If Snow tags Devin, Devin's wrestling Pat McGroin. I think y'all get the point by now. It should be a brutal encounter for the television title, a blow-off, if you will, to this feud between all four of these men.
Pat McGroin is basically, he's biting.
Got milk?
Unbelievable. Pat McGroin, Pat Powers comes over and does everything he can to protect the man that he's paid to protect. Now, Pat McGroin might only be in the ring with one individual at a time, but the truth is, he's got to defend that belt against three guys who have been gunning for him for months and months. Stormtrooper, Snow, and Devin Nash. These guys will do anything in their power to get that belt. The IPW TV title, one of the most important belts in wrestling.
Ron, I have a question for you. November the 3rd, we're back here at the WrestlePlex. Pat Powers is scheduled to meet the winner of this match. What happens if Pat McGroin and Pat Powers, best friends, are going after each other for the television title?
Pat Powers may be getting paid by Pat McGroin. He may be there to take care of what he needs to protect that title. But I'm going to tell you, Pat Powers is one of the most disgruntled, pissed off individuals in IPW. He's been around the business a long time, and from what he says, he's seen a lot of things change that he don't like. This guy's in the bar drinking all day, while the rest of us are out there either in the gym working, everything we can to up our game. Pat's sick of it. He don't care. He's going to get in there and he's going to fight tooth and nail, and I don't care if it's Pat McGroin. I don't care if it's any of these three other wrestlers. Pat Powers is going to come for that TV title, believe me.
That's true. Pat Powers, definitely an old school competitor, but coming to the year 2001 with the rest of us, Pat, be a little lighten up, will you? I don't understand quite this. If I'm Pat McGroin, I know he was tired. I know he didn't like the punishment he was taking from Snowman, but I'd much rather be in there taking a beating and trying to win the match, because right now, if either of these two individuals pins each other without even losing the fall, Pat McGroin will lose the television title.
Now, if you listen to the Steel Cage on Sports Radio 1010 a.m., hosted by Cowhead, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. until noon, you'll hear the likes of Devin Nash, who lays in one of the stiffest chops in the business. Hi, I'm Devin Nash. I'm allowed to be as stiff as I want to be because there's nothing anybody else can do about it. Politics plays a lot in IPW, just like the rest of wrestling. And some people, they might not know the stroke that Devin has. He's allowed to come in and beat the hell out of you if he wants to. But the Stormtrooper will do the same because he don't care. He's in the ring wearing the regalia of the Zambui Express.
Yes, he is. And the New Zealand Militia, or whoever you want to call him. But let me tell you, Phil Latio told me Devin has a lot of stroke.
He has a lot of stroke. Well, I'm not even going to touch that.
And Ron, you forgot when we talked about the Zambui Express.
Managed by one Jonathan Holliday, who you can currently see at the Crystal Burger on the corner of Kennedy and Dale Mabry.
Ah, hot chicken surprises. And fans, you can catch those shenanigans plus some serious wrestling action at the Florida WrestlePlex. Check us out in the Weekly Planet, 727-526-6778. Come learn how to wrestle the right way, right here at the best wrestling school in Florida, the Florida WrestlePlex. And there you see one of our guys, Snow, taking it to the veteran David Black.
You know, you can watch IPW every week right here on UPN 44, but being at the Florida WrestlePlex live, like on November 3rd, where Jet Jaguar is going to defend that Florida Unified Cruiserweight Championship against the returning Tony Mamaluke, former ECW World Tag Team Champion, now, I hate to say it, aligned with NWA Wildside and that sick promoter Bill Barons out of Georgia. Tony Mamaluke's coming into the house at IPW built. Jet Jaguar's been here since the beginning. I would hate to be in the shows of Mr. Mamaluke.
Tony Mamaluke, known as CG Offie, and some other names as when he was here in Florida. He used to get his ass handed to him regularly by Jet Jaguar. And if you think aligning yourself with Wildside is going to change that, I don't think you've seen just how crazy and vile the Jaguar has been as of late.
You could pick up Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Wrestle America, Wall Magazine. Pick up any of the publication on your newsstand. I'm not getting a cut. The WrestlePlex ain't making any money off that. But if you want to read about the biggest names in wrestling, sure, you can read about the WWF stars and the overseas stars. Who's left? IPW Hardcore Wrestling. In the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500, I can't even remember how many of our guys were ranked.
I think 13, 17 guys, somewhere in that ballpark, including our heavyweight champion, Scoot Andrews, ranked very highly. We haven't seen him on TV here in a while, folks, but we will shortly. He's been going all over the country defending that title, and he's come away successful each and every time. He's beat Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and many, many other independent superstars, and he's representing NWA, or IPW, I should say, excuse me, very proudly.
You ought to be slapped across the face for almost slipping up and saying he represents NWA. The only other group that he even comes close to representing is Jim Kettner's ECWA out of Delaware.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said. He's up there also as their heavyweight champion, defending against the likes of Low-Key, American Dragon, once again Christopher Daniels. This isn't just a feud in IPW that's raging with Chris Daniels and Scoot Andrews. This is nationwide. They're out for Roland Alexander's APW in California. They're up in the Midwest wrestling against Jason Rain and some of these other great independent talents. Scoot Andrews is doing everything he can to take the IPW heavyweight title and bring it to the next level. It is one of the most elite titles in the business today.
As is the IPW television title, and there you see Snow is grabbing for Pat's mammary area there again, but Pat goes a rake to the eyes right to Snow, and he's punching him, and Snow's a big, strong individual, but he looks a little bit tired right now. And there you see Devin and David Black, sometimes friends, sometimes enemies, going at it on the other side. But when there's titles on the line, there are no friends, only enemies. And you're seeing that right now during this match. And there you see the referee from Wildside looking a little confused. I don't think he's used to quite this much action up there in Georgia. Tell you, Wildside to me is the biggest embarrassment to Georgia wrestling since Tommy Rich had that 5-day world title reign.
You know, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to cut these guys short that are in the ring. I'm not trying to go on and on babbling about our heavyweight champion, but the truth is, if you're the IPW television champion, you are the #1 contender for the most elite heavyweight title in professional wrestling.
Look at this.
These guys are not just fighting for this gold. You win the belt, you shoot right to the #1 slot.
Oh
my God.
That has to hurt. And we've got a new champion, Ron.
You want to talk about a huge upset, and I literally mean about a 400-pound upset. Snow, second to the ring by Phil, who I don't know what the hell he's doing over in the corner. Your new champion and attacked brutally from behind by Pat Powers.
This is what we were talking about. Pat Powers is going to be challenging. Oh, my goodness.
The testicular claw.
Let me tell you, Pat Powers will be facing Snow at the next show. He knows that, and he goes in there and attacks him.
November
I tell you,
3rd.
Pat and Pat in the corner looking very much like Phil and Snow back there. Oh, and here comes Phil. It's going to be a face full of stuff for one of these guys. Oh, gosh!
That's one of the most pale, shaved asses I have ever seen shoved in another guy's face in my career.
The only thing that comes close is Shannon Rose at the gay strip clubs, but we'll talk about that another time. Oh.
He
gives him a
He
kiss.
actually kissed him. I think that's his way of saying thank you. Thanks for dropping the IPW TV title to me. I've earned it. I don't know what the hell it is I'm wearing in the middle of this ring. And here comes Shannon Rose trying to get a piece of the action.
I told you Shannon Rose likes getting involved in all this. Fans, let me tell you what, we've had a lot of fun this week, but the fun is about to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up for Highlight to the Cage match from the NWA Anniversary Show. I'm not going to say much more, fans. Brutal cage encounters I've ever seen in the history of the wrestling business. And one guy who was bleeding like a stuck pig is coming in here right now. He's the hardcore giant, Ron Nemi.
How you doing, Aaron? You know something? When it comes to this war between IPW Hardcore Wrestling and NWA, I thought it was NWA Florida that we had to worry about. Who would ever have guessed it would take this turn? I'm not going to spoil it for everybody this week, but who would have guessed what happened would have went down the way it did?
I tell you, Ron, not me. NWA Wildside comes in. They start beating down the NWA Florida guys. They start beating down the IPW guys. And at the very end, you're out there like always as a jokester on the microphone, bleeding next to Star Stevens, being all woozy. I tell you what, Ron, this is serious business, but you looked a little bit funny out there.
Here's the deal, Aaron. From now on, the Hardcore Giant's going to play by my own rules. There isn't going to be no ribs on Ron Nemi. There isn't going to be any joking around. I'm not going to be the brunt of your so-called sense of humor. Aaron Royal, you know your role, not to steal somebody else's catchphrase. You sit here and play the announcer. The Hardcore Giant, he's not going to be here to make everyone laugh. He's not going to be sitting here for Aaron Royal to make a name for himself. The Hardcore Giant, Ron Nemi, and the most elite organization in professional wrestling, IPW Hardcore, and the stable headed up by me, 911 Incorporated, the Shane Brothers, and Mike Sullivan with his valet Ecstasy. NWA Wildside, you came into the IPW Hardcore Wrestling Florida WrestlePlex, our backyard. You had the nerves to jump the entire roster that was engaged in the most sickly, brutal War Games match with NWA Florida. Who would have guessed that NWA Florida and IPW Hardcore would join forces? I said I wasn't going to expose what happened. You're going to see what happened. And Aaron Royal, you ever disrespect me again, that slap across your face, that's going to be the last thing you're going to have to worry about.
All right, well, I tell you what, Ron, perhaps I was a little out of line. This is getting serious, folks. Let's look at what I'm talking about. Steel cage match from the NWA Anniversary Show. Look at it for yourself. All right, fans, this is what we're talking about. Buck Q and Marvelous Mike Sullivan starting out in the cage. You see Mike Sullivan not quite fully dressed there. Buck was in the opposite position last time they wrestled. You saw it here a few weeks ago on IPW Weekly Recap. Let me tell you, there's only two guys in this cage right now, but the brutality that will ensue is like nothing you've seen, not even here on IPW Weekly Recap. We have two referees outside the ring, Star Stevens, the Mud Baby, representing IPW, and Frankie Reyes, representing NWA Florida. And there you see, now we got four men in the ring. Scoot Andrews, there's our heavyweight champion for IPW, and Rod Steele, the turncoat for NWA, all in the ring. Four of the best wrestlers in the state of Florida or anywhere else going at it, but they're not worrying about wrestling moves right now. And look at this by Jet Jaguar, climbing to the top of the cage. And Ron, this is one of the most spectacular entrances into a cage I've ever seen.
Jet Jaguar is the man that always makes a spectacular entrance.
Swine.
A beautiful, Superfly Snuka has never hit a splash like that off the top of the cage. And the truth is, Aaron, you're not getting across the point of the hatred that has been boiling for 6 months between NWA Florida and IPW Hardcore Wrestling. You see the second part of the Heavenly Bodies coming in, Chris Nelson, and laying out Mike Sullivan. You see the Shane Brothers, Scoot Andrews, Buck Quartermain, everybody's in there fighting for pride and fighting for blood and glory. This is what we have built to. Howard Brody's on this outside of the ring, representing NWA Florida. The Hardcore Giant, Ron Nemi's on the outside of the cage, representing IPW. We got the best security in all of Florida. We didn't go and hire some slouches. We went to able-bodied temporaries and got some of the best manpower you could ever hope for. And here comes a bunch of idiots from NWA Wildside invading IPW, NWA, invading Florida. This is what you call brutality and violence. Right here at the Florida WrestlePlex, where it's all about wrestling, and you can call 727-526-6778. This isn't what we're going to be training. This isn't what we're going to be showing the guys that come down here and want to see what it's all about. This is all about violence and hatred. This is all about independent wrestling supremacy. And in comes chaos, and in comes more security, and in comes more guys from Wildside. How in the hell is everybody going to fit in this cage? I'm over in the corner to get my brains bashed in. Look at the outside of this. It's a war out there. Bill Barron's out there thinking he's Jim Cornette with a tennis racket, and you see Star Stevens, the Mud Baby. He might not be one of the sharpest tacks. He might not have his whole picnic basket filled with the sweet goodness of sandwiches, but he's going to do everything he can to defend IPW, and he takes a beating like no other. And look at these idiots. They keep coming and coming and coming. My Halliburton getting smashed over the head above Quartermain. You heard Shannon Rose talk about it on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 10:40 a.m. He got across the point, unlike Aaron Royal. He got across how violent and sick and ridiculous. This was supposed to be the blow-off to a 6-month bloodbath, and you see Rastaman coming in, defending the pride of IPW and throwing haymakers and doing everything he can. Frankie Capone sticks his nose into the business. You don't mess with IPW, and no matter how much it sickens me to say it, you don't mess with NWA Florida. We came together as one. This is a civil war. This is Florida versus Georgia. NWA Florida and IPW Hardcore Wrestling versus NWA Wildside. You see one half of Bad Attitude, Rick Michaels, taking a briefcase and crushing the head of some poor individual, and there goes Star getting waffled again. Everybody's there, all the internet reporters, all the Japanese media, and the Hardcore Giants standing side by side with Chaos. Howard Brody, Jet Jaguar, Mike Sullivan, Shannon Rose like a pansy outside the ring, and you see Mike Gold in the face of some NWA fan fighting for what's right.
All right, Ron, this was very important what you said here. Let's just cut it out with your comments.
Another twist in the never-ending saga of IPW Hardcore Wrestling against the NWA. First, it was NWA Florida, who have now formed an unholy alliance with IPW Hardcore Wrestling to feud with the unbelievably sick and demented, horrible roster from NWA Wildside, headed by their promoter, Mr. Bill Behrens. They came into the WrestlePlex, they came into our backyard and attacked us. You better believe that Florida is going to respond in this civil war. Wildside, here we come.